On behalf of the Program Planning Committee, I would like to welcome you to Washington, D.C., a city, by the way, I'd like to take note of the fact that it is really run by three amazing, powerful women you're about to hear from, and the 2015 College Board Forum. It's been a pleasure to serve as Forum co-chair alongside Henry, our fellow co-chairs, and our program planning colleagues. Together, the 30 of us represent public and private K-12 and higher education institutions, as well as college access and scholarship organizations from all over the country. We started by identifying key issues. We discussed current trends in higher education, including challenges around affordability, scholarships, and financial aid, the needs of underrepresented students, the value of STEM, and the state of the humanities, among other topics. We kept these issues in mind as we carefully examined the nearly 300 session proposals over the course of several days. I do want to offer a special thank you to all of you who spent the time preparing and submitting those proposals. There were many more great sessions than we were able to accommodate at the forum this year. The 84 we ultimately selected are a reflection of the topics and speakers we thought would best serve attendees and, more importantly, best serve students. So on behalf of the chairs and the College Board, I want to thank the presenters who will be sharing their research, their experiences, and their stories with us over the next few days. I also want to thank members of the Program Planning Committee. I have to say it was a pretty intense several days, and I was really impressed by the tremendous care and seriousness with which each member approached the process of selecting these sessions for all of us for this forum. Members of the Program Planning Committee, I would ask if you're able to please stand so you can be recognized for your hard work. I'd now like to hand the podium over to my friend and fellow Silver Spring resident, Henry Johnson.
Thank you, Lori. Indeed, it has been a pleasure and an honor to be a part of this year's great event and to work alongside such distinguished colleagues and my fellow co-chairs. To the College Board community, my fellow members, all of you here, and the many colleagues across this country, I want to thank you. Thank you for sharing your lessons, your successes, and your challenges with us. We believe that students everywhere thrive and succeed because of the combined effort and talent of those assembled here and those we all represent. We hope that the next few days serve as a call of action and that you will learn from and be inspired by your fellow professionals. After the forum, we know that you will return to your institutions reinvigorated. We also have confidence that the energy and enthusiasm you share here will extend to all the students we serve. This year's forum is, of course, an opportunity to learn, to share, and to network. But we are also here to celebrate partnerships and to build on collaborations in your districts, your institutions, and the many organizations represented here and beyond. Our students depend upon all of us. What we do individually and together can literally change lives and make dreams come true. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce College Board President and CEO, David Coleman. Under his leadership and fierce commitment to delivering opportunities to students and families across America and beyond, David and his team are challenging all, and I emphasize all students to own their future and to make a real difference in this world. Please join me in welcoming David Coleman.
Thank you.
Break a leg.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori and Henry. So if I am a bit more giddy than usual, I am so honored and moved that Mayor Bowser is here to welcome us to Washington, D.C. with her Chief of Police and great Chancellor Pai, with Chief Lanier. Whoa. I am all a shiver at being with one of the greatest all-girl bands ever. Another great example of women leadership is Barbara Cronin and the membership team who led the development and work of this event together with our friends in governance under another great women's leadership, under Dorothy Sexton's leadership. May we please thank them for all their work and all they do. As I welcome you to Forum, some ask, what's different about this year than other years? What's new? What happened in the last 12 months? And here is my shortest answer. These are Zach and Scarlett, my 11-month-old twins, who have just begun to stand. And more on that later. Another thing that struck me as I prepared today is an article. You might understand why this headline took my attention, so I share it to you, even though it was quite unexpected. Death rates rising for middle-aged white Americans, study finds. It's not the kind of news you want to read, but I want to read it to you because I find it bracing. It's in the New York Times. Something startling is happening to middle-aged white Americans. Unlike every other age group, unlike every other racial and ethnic group, unlike their counterparts in other rich countries, death rates in this group have been rising, not falling. That finding was reported Monday by 2 Princeton economists. Analyzing health and mortality data, they concluded that rising annual death rates among this group are being driven not by the big killers like heart disease and diabetes, but by an epidemic of suicides and afflictions stemming from substance abuse, alcoholic liver disease, and overdoses of heroin and prescription opiates. Why do I share this with you? Because if you look more carefully at the data, you actually see a break among middle-aged white men. That break is whether or not you went to college. These numbers are so big, and they're virtually all from those who have not gone to college, who stopped at a high school education or before that. It makes me wonder about this country, whether we can see through the political stupidities of our time to recognize these common epidemics, the force of this addiction and despair in this white middle-aged community makes us wonder about violence in all communities, addiction in all communities, and can we summon our shared will? Can we think, as we, the College Board, consider opportunity? Can we think as much about the rural white poor and other worlds as we do about cities here, and can that be part of common cause? I bet the mayor and her team, and certainly Chief Lanier, deal with addictions of all sorts in their daily work throughout every class of our society. It's the kind of thing that makes me wonder. And it's the kind of thing that shows, beyond a shadow of a doubt, if you are a school counselor, if you are a teacher, if you are in financial aid, if you are in admissions, if you do the work of access and opportunity to bring kids in and through college, it is not merely for career readiness. It is a soul craft. It is a shaping of the soul. It is a stand against despair. It is a claiming of the future and bringing it into the present. The absence of college in these communities is killing people. It should bring us with a renewed urgency to our shared task. With that said, I realize that every word I say is fewer words from the better women in front of me. One sign of a smart guy is knowing when to get out of the way of better women. I've had this experience from early childhood, having quite a forceful mother, Liz Coleman, president of Bennington College for 25 years, who, and I didn't prepare to say this, but you'll kind of love it, when harrying her one day about whether there was a God when I was a small child, Mom, is there a God? And then she'd answer, but what, but why, but why? She said to me, look, if there is a God, he's not worried about you right now. I came early to the notion that she had real work to do that did not involve me. And that was not a signal for me of neglect, but a signal that a remarkable woman with ideas was worthy of imitation. It's been something I've been lucky enough to carry throughout my life. And I am so proud to let you know that 67% of the College Board staff, their highest supervisor, are women. That includes Cindy Schmeiser, our remarkable head of assessment, who could not be here today. But it also includes the 3 remarkable women who will upstage me in a moment to introduce the 3 remarkable women before us. That includes the great Stephanie Sanford, our head of global policy and advocacy. That includes Terry Shaw, our head of IT and operations. And that includes a new member of our team, the mighty Erica Miller, who leads our governance, higher ed, as well as membership work. And I want to be candid with you. I could not be more delighted, but I still observe some hard truths I think we need to wrestle with. For example, I'm troubled that I see women negotiating for power rather than exercising it bluntly and forcefully, still within our halls. I'm worried that whatever we've done in equity terms that often care for children, in my relationship, frankly, with my husband, Patrick, gender roles don't intrude in simple ways. But in most families I see a world where the woman is the last step bringing up a child. And the amount of daily tax on the soul as they're also trying to soar in their career is something Chief Lanier may know much more about than I ever will. But I think we have to be candid about those realities as we seek a better future. But what an awesome thing it is for me to work with extraordinary women who run the place where I work every day. And it is my greatest pleasure to now introduce that team to introduce the women that lead DC. Thank you very much.
Good morning. During an interview in June at Google's DC headquarters, Mayor Muriel Bowser was asked how so much innovation had happened so fast since she took office. She replied, "The girls are running this city now." We're lucky to have 3 of those girls with us today, and my fellow girls of the College Board and I feel lucky to introduce them. And actually, to tell the truth, before you girls got here, we were talking about it. It's awesome to be able to be here and share this stage with you. Mayor Bowser inherited her political and community building ambitions from her father, Joe, who was an advisory neighborhood commissioner and a longtime community activist. She also got his passion for everything DC. She's the 7th elected mayor, the 2nd woman, the 2nd youngest to fill the post. She spent 8 years on the city council, but her command of the neighborhoods, the details, the culture, and the folklore of this city may have come from a more surprising place: the many summers she spent working on a tourmobile bus. I mean, think about that for a moment. Can you imagine better training to lead a city? With each time, a better understanding, each time you make the loop around Arlington Cemetery, can you imagine that would be how you would master and build passion for a city? And can you imagine a couple of decades ago sitting on that tour bus and tapping the person riding next to you and saying, wow, that eloquent young lady may be mayor one day. And so she is. After college, she tried her hand at corporate life in Philadelphia, and after a short number of years, she realized that her true calling was to come home and serve the city she loved. And just a decade after her first election to her own advisory neighborhood commission, she has reached the city's highest post. Building on her parents' lessons, her business acumen, the details of the city honed through summers telling story on that tourmobile bus, she's built direct, meaningful relationships with her constituents, neighborhood by neighborhood, leader by leader, and bringing transparency and a sense of togetherness to this diverse and sometimes divided city. And Mayor Bowser has surrounded herself with a top-notch team, as you will soon see. And she's put education at the center of her plan to make this country's political capital also its opportunity capital. All of our students have the opportunity and the potential to excel, she said, and she's committed to turning that potential into a reality. She's expanding early childhood, broadening STEM education, partnering with higher ed, and bringing technology to low-income communities, all the tools and building blocks of opportunity. And she's not just a role model for young women, she's their staunch advocate. The partnership she developed with Howard University to establish the first technology and innovation hub will place special focus in drawing girls, especially girls of color, to technology fields. She's accomplished a ton already, and we can't wait to see what's next. Please join me in welcoming the Mayor of DC, Muriel Bowser.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning to introduce our second panelist, Metropolitan Police Department Chief of Police, Kathy Lanier. If you live in the DC area, you don't just know the name Kathy Lanier, you know the face, you know the story, and above all, you know the remarkable record of achievement. Like millions of others, I have followed with great interest and admiration the career of Kathy Lanier ever since she was named Chief of Police in early 2007. Next year will be her 10th year on the job, at a time when chiefs of police of major cities usually last 2, 3, maybe 5 years at the outside. What this has meant for DC is radically decreased crime rates, including record low homicide rates, a police department that has radically expanded its use of social media and other tools to build a culture of communication and trust, and a new nationally emulated model of partnership. Partnership between law enforcement and citizens, between cops and the neighborhoods they serve, and between the protectors and the protected. Chief Lanier has said, policing isn't just about making arrests, it's about making connections. A vivid example of this occurred on October 26, when an officer under Chief Lanier's command helped defuse a fight between teenagers, not by asserting authority, but by challenging one of them to a dance-off. If you haven't seen the video, which went viral, find a minute to do so. It's such a great moment of connection and its positive impact. Like today's other extraordinary panelists, Chief Lanier isn't content to just follow the same old patterns and expectations. Instead, she has challenged the city of Washington to play an active part in owning its future, and it's led to amazing results. Chief Lanier knows something about owning one's future, and I'm a little reluctant to talk about her personal story because she never wanted that to be the story. But Chief Lanier, if you'll forgive me, just for a moment today, its lessons are too powerful to ignore. So here it is in a nutshell. Raised by a single working-class mother, pregnant at 14, a married high school dropout at 15, divorced at 18, worked as a secretary and waitress until applying to the police academy, primarily to afford her son's education, earned a GED, 2 bachelor's and 2 master's degrees, served as commander of one of the largest and most racially diverse districts in the city, commander of the Special Operations Division, and the first commanding officer of the city's Office of Homeland Security and Counterterrorism, appointed by Mayor Fenty as Chief of Police. I'm sure you'll agree that her story and her success makes her a role model for women just starting their careers and proves to girls with aspirations to succeed that no matter what challenges they face, opportunity is within their reach. It's my true honor to welcome Chief Kathy Lanier.
Good morning. It is both a professional and a personal honor to introduce DC Public Schools Chancellor Kaya Henderson. It's hard to think of a better representative of what the College Board stands for and what we're working to achieve. For 5 years, Chancellor Henderson has been leading DC Public Schools. And as someone who has lived in the DC area for many years, I can say that we are so fortunate. Very few urban school districts in the country have seen as much improvement in those years as DCPS has. Just last week, we celebrated the announcement from the National Assessment of Educational Progress that DC showed significant increases in both 2013 and 2015, even while, sadly, the nation's overall scores declined. We're celebrating a new era in which growth in student success, graduation rates, teacher and parent satisfaction, and overall trust and enrollment in public education have become the norm. In large part, this growth is due to Chancellor Henderson's steady and courageous leadership. The daughter of a public school principal and herself a former middle school Spanish teacher in the South Bronx, Chancellor Henderson understands keenly that student success depends on great teaching. That philosophy guided her in her role as National Admissions Director and Recruiter for Teach for America, and as Executive Director of its DC region. And it also guided her in helping bring great teachers into urban school districts as a senior leader at the New Teacher Project. As Deputy Chancellor, she led the development of a system designed to ensure that the head of every classroom in DC public schools is a dedicated, effective teacher. And those great teachers she helped recruit are staying at a rate of 92%. Chancellor Henderson is also making sure that opportunity is being delivered through challenging coursework. Just last month, we learned that the minimum number of advanced placement courses offered in every DC public high school will increase from 4 to 6 this year and from 6 to 8 next year. Just one example of how the Chancellor and her team are challenging all students to own their future. And on a personal note, I'm so pleased to introduce Chancellor Henderson because we were both mentored by an extraordinary woman whose powerful intellect, impeccable integrity, unwavering commitment to educational excellence, and results-oriented collaborative leadership left a lasting legacy in this city. Floretta Dukes McKenzie served as superintendent of DC Public Schools for 7 years in the 1980s, and she passed away earlier this year. People often said of Dr. McKenzie, they don't make them like that anymore. As it turns out, they do. We at the College Board so appreciate Chancellor Henderson's wisdom, guidance, and support as a valued trustee. Please join me in thanking Chancellor Henderson for her great work and for being with us today.
Thank you again for being here. So, Mayor.
David.
As an American, to watch DC be a star instead of a scar is an amazing feeling.
Thank you.
What?
What's it like for you to be rocking?
What's it like to have this rocking team? Tell me about it. Tell me what it's like to be succeeding in this way.
Well, it's a blessing, first of all. We went across the city talking to Washingtonians about what was important to them, and definitely being able to go all across the region, the nation, and indeed go to other places in the world, and people are commenting on the progress we're making in Washington. It is so fulfilling as a person who's been born and raised here, and have seen our city in highs and lows. So to really be able to lead the city at this time, is a great honor for me. And so with all the progress that we're making and all the successes that we can count, we are also in the position to invest in the challenges that remain. And that is something else that sets us apart from a lot of cities.
Okay, perfect. Do you do like a happy dance in the shower? You like, my life is awesome?
I've had a few happy dances.
I'm glad to hear.
I've had a few happy dances.
Because if I were you, I'd be like out there. Speaking of dancing, Chief Lanier, since you became Chief of Police, what are you proudest of? What accomplishments?
You know,
Brag a little. I'm asking you ladies to like brag as much as possible.
there are a lot of things that, you know, that make me love getting up and coming to work every day, and accomplishments that mean a lot to me. But I think the most important one was, I've been here 25 years. I came up through the ranks, and through my whole career, what used to just really be so crushing for me is seeing so many teenagers in the 90s and early 2000s that were victims of homicide on our streets. And to see homicides are troubling anyway, but to see children,
Yes.
and they really children, you know, shot and killed, it was just the one thing that I thought if I could ever turn that around, that's the most important thing. And we focused our whole team on reducing juvenile victims of homicide. 4 straight years. We invested in a lot of positive engagement with kids. We invested in family programs. We invested in non-traditional policing, a little compassion with the people that we work with. And between 2008 and 2012, we reduced the number of juveniles' involvement in homicide, either as suspect or victim, 63%. And so that, to me, is the most important.
And the location of your happy dance is where? What? Talk to me.
Sometimes
about
I sit in my chair and just spin around.
Oh, that's awesome. I need one of those. Kaya, I need to tell this audience, because education is a field I know to some degree of precision, that the 2 years, or over a longer period of time, that these NAEP scores building on each other, where Washington, D.C.'s growth has led the country, is stunning, formidable, amazing. It is a light where there is gray on the education landscape. I cannot overstate the significance. But on a more tender note, guess which state, if we shall say it, or which
Let's
institution?
say it. Let's speak it. And let's do
I'll
it.
say state loud. Shall we say state? Of the states, which had the highest percentage of students signing up for FAFSA in this country?
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. So, Chancellor Henderson, my dear friend, what are you doing? Share the magic. How's this NAEP growth? Your great head of college and career planning is here. How are you getting this kind of FAFSA completion? Teach us.
So, I feel really lucky because it takes a city to do what we're doing. And as the mayor said, we've had tremendous financial success in our city, and over the course of 3 mayors have made big investments in education. You can't do it on the cheap. And my mayor has put the money forward, the political will forward to allow us to do bold and innovative things. We have amazing partnerships with the Metropolitan Police Department, the Department of Health, the Department of Transportation. Literally, we are all focused on ensuring that our young people get a great education, because we know that if they do, their life outcomes can be significantly changed. And so, what gets measured gets done. We were nowhere on the FAFSA radar screen until my amazing college and career awareness team sat down and said, well, if kids are not filling out the FAFSA, then they're really not going to college. So let's set a goal for every single high school, and let's monitor weekly. And so weekly, the high schools get calls saying where they are against their FAFSA goal. And in a year, that took us to the #1 position in the country. We're forging huge partnerships and alliances. In fact, we're about to open a public service academy next year where our young people will be trained to enter the police academy. And the intersectionality, first of all, when you go into the police academy, you make $60,000, right? That is a great proposition, but you also have the ability to go to college and get that paid for and whatnot. And if you think about the intersectionality between, policing and communities, I think we can set an example for what that looks like by investing in our young people. We have an amazing team of educators, and we've done everything that we could to make sure that DC is the most attractive place for teachers to come and teach and stay. We have a rigorous academic curriculum that is aligned to the Common Core, no two ways about it. And so we're expecting more from our young people. And then we've made it a real priority to engage students and families, to make school fun for students and motivating, a place where they want to come, and then to make sure that families have a clear way to help support their students.
And David, what we have found in Washington is that people are voting with their feet. So in 6 years of straight growth in our public schools enrollment, which is remarkable. For a period of time when I was growing up in DC, families were not going to the public schools, and this change is incredible. And so we're just really grateful for it.
I think one could say the combination of your three talents and work is reintegrating this city in a beautiful way.
Well,
creating
we're
schools.
definitely trying. And the program that the chancellor just mentioned about the police department, so it's a great way for us to train our kids and make sure that they have a pathway to a good job, but we also need some good DC residents on the police force. This chief has to hire 300 police for the next 4 years, 300. And so when the chancellor and the police chief can combine with an idea to interest our young people in public safety, that's a win-win all the way around.
It's great. So given how well you're doing,
Thank you.
many would
I'm
advise
gonna
you.
take you around with me.
Any day of the week, I'm yours.
Okay.
At night, during the day. Anyway, I shouldn't go too far. But some would advise you, don't rock the boat. You know what I mean? Kind of like you're grooving, keep going, steady with the ship.
Yeah.
But King tells us sometimes, why wait? Where would you say that you want to speed things up, that you want to break some glass or need a challenge? Or where might you say, I want to slow something down? But where are you feeling about pace in your leadership?
I feel like I have to go fast every single day. Today is the first anniversary of my election as mayor. And so already, we have already gone through 25% almost of my term.
Wow.
And so it goes so fast. And so I don't think that we should go slow. I think we should go fast. Now, we have to be strategic, and I have attracted a great team. There's some men that work for me, too.
Okay, got it.
I
have a chance.
I have a great city administrator, and we're focused on our budget priorities, and we were very successful in partnership with the council this year. We have a legislative agenda that's aggressive. We're attacking homelessness, and we have a bold plan to end homelessness in our city. And I think that we always want to go faster with schools. And the chancellor has laid out a tremendous strategic plan that we're focused on, but she's also focusing us on how we're going to serve our boys of color, who we know we need different interventions.
You know, I was so excited about you coming mayor. I had my kids a month later. I was that.
Okay.
Your anniversary is a big one for me, too. Chief Lanier, speed, bold versus safe. Where do you want to steer faster, break some rules, do some things, challenge some things? Where should we go more cautiously in your realm?
So for me, it is constant pressure every minute of every day for me to constantly try and make things better. Every day that we aren't improving the way we police or public safety or the safety for the people in the city, somebody potentially could lose their life. So the sense of urgency is every single day for me. One of the reasons I go around to crime scenes the way I do is because I want every person who's injured or that is the victim of crime to be a real person in my head every day, because that's just how critical it is. It is not numbers, it is not, to me, it's not about statistics and about numbers. It is about every day I have to strive to make sure we're doing better. And if I'm not pushing the envelope to do better every single day, people become victims because of that. So you never want to lose the image of what really happens if police aren't good. And they have to be good, and they have to be better every day. So there's the urgency for me every single day. To slow things down, the thing I love the most about what I've been able to do with policing is infusion of new technology, right? Technology is just great for us. But it also is the single biggest challenge we have because technology has made the speed of change so rapid that to keep up with the speed of change that technology brings in policing is a huge challenge. So slow down maybe a little bit on the technology, but keep the energy behind the
I'll work
change
on
of the
that.
force.
Chancellor Henderson.
So I think, DC Public Schools has seen a lot of movement in a very short amount of time. In 2007, we started a very bold and aggressive set of reforms, and in 8 short years, we've seen tremendous progress. But I'm mindful of how much change people can take at one particular time. And so we've tried to be thoughtful about how we keep pushing people with a sense of urgency, but not overburden them so that they're chaotic and then paralyzed and can't move forward. I am super worried about high schools. We've done a lot of good work on rethinking what our elementary schools and our middle schools look like, but really thinking differently about high school because I think that the model is not providing what we need. I'm thinking a lot about more time in school, and so the mayor has been tremendous in supporting an agenda around a longer school day and a longer school year, but we don't just want to add an hour. You can clap for that.
Except the kids are like, we don't want more time in schools. The
But
kids are not
that's
clapping.
actually not true, right? What students
I was
are
setting
saying
you up,
to
Kai.
us, thank you. What students are saying to us is, our teachers are better now. We're doing engaging projects like Cornerstone projects, and then the bell rings and it's time to go. We need more time in school. And when students are saying that, and when students are willing to work harder to get at more rigorous content, then that means they're going to be prepared for when we send them to college and they've got to work hard for something. When it means that they'll be willing to stay more time in the library or whatnot. We're cultivating the habits that are going to make them successful in college. So really concerned about high school, really concerned about the amount of time that we spend with our students. And for me, we have a goal that 90% of our young people will love school. And for us, that means big investments in art, music, PE, foreign language, library. It means teaching second graders how to ride bikes so that they can understand social studies integrated with physical education in completely new ways. It means project-based learning. It means more athletics at a time when I feel like the country has been stripping these things away from public education. I actually think these are the things that give us the great kinds of young people who are ready then for college and career.
So I'm bumming because we have about 10 more minutes and I have 3 questions I really want to ask. So we'll make this kind of a lightning round. First question, 1994. My mom stars front page of the New York Times Magazine as Stalin leading Bennington College. She's provoked a lot of turnover. The article begins by describing how she walks and then describing how she was not sufficiently warm to the reporter by not inviting him to sit with her. Mm-hmm. So I've observed media and women leaders in my life, and I find it super strange. I have many more thoughts on this, but I'm curious how you see it. What's been your interaction with the media? Is that still true today? Do you find strange preoccupations with aspects of you that would not be true of men?
I'll let Kaya and the chief answer that
Chief, you want to?
Oh, I'm so glad. You know, it's a good question when the mayor passes.
I tell you, I've never let it, get to me, but to consider how women are perceived in powerful positions, yes. And Kai and I have been through this together, I know, and now the mayor as well. But when I was named as the nominee for the chief of police in 2007, I had 2 master's degrees, 17 years experience. I had run every division in the police department to include the special operations division and planned a couple of presidential inaugurations. And the headline on one of the big stories about my nomination in a major newspaper was "Teen Welfare Mom Tapped to be Nation's Top Cop." To talk about unfair, there was not anything in that article about my education, my experience, or that. And then Kai and I together have been constantly criticized for the salary that we make. And in both of our cases, people in the borders right around us make more money than we make in jobs with smaller organizations and a lot less responsibility, and nobody seems to think a word about it because they're not women. So we still have a ways to go. We've made it to the boardroom, so to speak, but the acceptance for us in the boardroom is not there.
Well, after that lead, ladies, what else you got? Come on.
I would say I've run, this is my 4th election, it will be my 6th, the last one, the 6th election if you count my ANC elections. And I never really focused on how people treated me as a female candidate until the last one. And I think I would be, and some people would say I was sensitive or I was thin-skinned, Tom Sherwood, or they would say, but the one I liked the most is they would say I didn't understand or what she was trying to say, or she hasn't done anything important. So I was attacked for my intellect, which I had never experienced in my entire life. And so I thought that was it was an interesting attack. Now that I'm mayor, I think there's some other subtle ways that my gender comes in because people comment on how tough and aggressive and I am, because I think they were expecting something different. And I tell everybody, my job at City Hall is not like going to a tea party. It's nothing like it. And I do politics. And because I'm able to be successful politically, the chief and Kaya and all the people that work for me can do the important job of changing policies and moving bold initiatives. So I never make apologies for being a smart politician. And I think that some people expect women to play the game a little differently.
Wow.
You're good? I'll tell you, just because you've been so kind to me, almost every day on Twitter, if you're having a bad day, you can Google my name and someone's saying something nasty about me.
Okay, there's no worries.
And my mother, I've talked about too much, and I love my father too, but my mother said to me, you know you've arrived when you're not a devil, but the devil.
But then there are some surprisingly things about us being women leaders and 3 women leaders. I just turned to the chief when Kaya was being introduced. When I think the Sunday after I was sworn in, we were all together on Meet the Press.
Yes.
And this is not the first or the second invitation that we've gotten to speak together. And so it is unusual, we found. I think there was only one other city where there were 3 women who were in the positions that we are in. And it is important to the girls. It's important to the boys too, but I like to tell this story that when I go around, when I was on the campaign trail, I was blown away by the number of children that were paying attention to a mayor's race. They knew who I was, they knew what we were talking about. They definitely loved to see the chief and her 4 stars come in the room. They know. And so if we can get the 8-year-old girls to vote, we'll be here for a long time.
We can do better on the results.
As a middle-aged white man, we're finished, folks. It's over. Zach and Scarlett.
Right.
Back to me. I have a boy and a girl. They're 11 months old. I'm getting a river of blue and pink stuff. What do I do, ladies? Like, if I don't want Scarlett to be framed necessarily in pink dresses from her earliest days, what's your advice to me? Do I give it back, let her wear what she wants? What's your guidance on raising my daughter to be as awesome as you?
Well, I love pink. So I think she should wear what she wants.
Is that the uniform?
Yeah, I think the best thing a parent can do is support and encouragement.
Yeah.
Gender neutral support and encouragement. That's really what makes the child survive and thrive, is just support and encouragement, because kids will get on and off track. When a lot of things, teenagers really on and off track. Parents, support and encourage.
I got to change my whole plan then.
I'll echo that sentiment. I grew up with people saying to me, you know how smart you are? You could be the president of the United States one day. And I really believed that, right?
Yes.
And when I think about even the work that we do every day in DC public schools, for a long time, the narrative was we're the lowest performing school district in the country. Well, who wants to hear that? Right? The truth of the matter is we're now the fastest improving urban school district in the country. And my educators and my students now have a different sense of possibility. So we speak possibility and opportunity into our young people's lives. And so what you speak into Zach and Scarlett's life will absolutely determine their trajectory.
How worrisome. We're in our concluding moments. You have assembled before you approximately 2,000 people. They are the membership of the College Board. They're leaders in higher education, in K-12. They're school counselors. They're nonprofit organizations. They lead in areas like financial aid, admissions. They lead in areas like teaching and advanced placement. What would you ask of this audience? I think this audience is ready to follow you. So what can we do to accelerate your work?
Well, I would thank them for all of the work that they're doing for young people. And to Kaya's point, pay attention and watch the students in Washington, D.C. We are raising our expectations about what they can achieve. And we know when they leave our schools, they're going to be prepared. They haven't always been prepared to be successful at college, but we want to raise our expectations, hold all of our staff accountable for helping the students achieve those expectations. We want to wrap our city services around them so that they're best prepared. But I would just ask everybody to pay attention to Washington. We're producing some really great students who can go to any college, anywhere in the United States. And we're going to be there to support them while they're there.
Chief Lanier?
So although I get a giggle out of the three girls and what we get when we go places, think of this group, this administration, for what they are. It is a mayor that is committed to making sure everybody has the same access to everything that everyone should have. Quality education, good safety and security in healthy neighborhoods, and success in one of the biggest, most powerful cities in America. So support those ideals and those efforts and support this administration's efforts to get there.
DC has one of the largest wealth inequality gaps in the country, and yet and still, we are producing significant results. So it doesn't matter what challenge you have, you can do it too. We will partner with you. Watch us, but call us. We'll tell you what we're doing. We'll help you. Hire our students, get our students into your schools. If you're a state school, they come with a $10,000 tag grant, so they're very attractive. But we expect that our position in the nation's capital means that we should be a national example for what a great city can look like, for what healthy communities look like, and for what a functional and exceptional urban school district can look like. And so we look forward to working with you on that.
And just Chief Lanier, I think you raised such a beautiful thing that I want to conclude with it. Chief Lanier said is, don't be confused by the picture before you of three remarkable women and thinking that's the story here. I'll tell you what I felt sitting here, if I can be so candid. I felt you as mayor are in a remarkable situation because you have on your team two number ones.
Thank you.
And it is very hard to hold a team together of such extraordinary, talented people because you both could lead anything. And I think the choice you've made to, instead of separating, but to work together, to be such a talented group is such a testament to you.
Thank you.
And it's exactly how I feel about my team at the College Board. I think my job number one is to keep the band together, and God bless you. I hope you do, because what you're doing is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David.